now welcome Michelle Chivunga, who is an advisor to the African Union in her role as the CEO of Global Policy House. And she is going to be talking today about how blockchain and digital transformation can help to transform and power the AFCFTA, which is the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Alors, nous présentons Michelle Chivunga du Global Policy House. Bienvenue, Madame Chivunga.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Real pleasure to join you here at the Africa Blockchain Week. It's been a phenomenal week so far, lots of exciting content. My name is Michelle Chivunga, and I'm the CEO of Global Policy House, which is based in the Kingdom. We're very much looking at blockchain and digital transformation around the world. And also we're working with several governments around the world, looking at things like central bank digital currencies, and looking at how blockchain can help the many economies around the world. It's such a pleasure to be here and such great phenomenal work that is going on within the blockchain space. I will just share with you a little bit of the work that we've been doing and also some of the aspirations that Africa has around digital transformation, especially with the formation of the Continental Free Trade Area. So if you give me a second, I shall just share my slides with you. Absolutely. So again, it's such a pleasure to be looking at this topic, especially now, given what is going on within the economy. We have all obviously kind of pivoted into the digital economy, following COVID, and it's been as much as a very traumatic experience, I think, for many economies. Digital transformation and the usage of emerging technologies like blockchain have actually played a very, very important role. And I'm going to cover that a little bit in the presentation as I go along. Blockchain particularly is a very transformational technology that I think the world is starting to wake up to, which is very, very exciting. And then certainly when you're talking about the Continental Free Trade Area, again, is very, very exciting for Africa. Because that presents an opportunity to actually transform all economies across the African continent. And this is also very beneficial across the world as well. So I will cover that in a bit more detail as we go along. So, let's put some context behind it, right? What is the Continental Free Trade Area? What does it mean? For Africa specifically, the Continental Free Trade Area, which came into force on the 1st of January, my birthday, I can never forget that date, and came into force and is really being, put in place as the next transformational move for the continent. So it's kind of the biggest policy shift, I would say, for the continent, where we are looking at Agenda 2063, which is really designed to look at the Africa that we want. And the opportunities with this really is massive, because what we want to try and create within the continent is a very united continent, a continent that is trading with each other, the countries across the African continent. But also it's a massive business opportunity, because if you have a united Africa, which by the way, will form the largest trading bloc, I think, for post the World Trade Organization, really presents a massive business opportunity, an opportunity to almost address, 1.2 billion people, and a market with the expected GDP of about 2.5 trillion, which is absolutely massive. It's one that is not to miss. But what is the whole point of the CFTA? The CFTA is really there to encourage more industrialization across Africa and to encourage more and more people to engage with the continent and more businesses and investments to go into the continent. The ambitions is really to encourage that intra-continental trade and also the free movement of goods, services, people, money and currency, and the flow of liquidity across the markets, which is very, very important for Africa. Certainly by around 2050, it is predicted Africa is going to have about 2.5 billion people on the continent, the fastest growing continent with a very youthful population across Africa. So the opportunities are immense if you think about it. We really want to be able to drive growth in very key sectors, especially things like healthcare, education, trade, manufacturing. And of course, we're starting to see a booming e-commerce market now develop, following COVID and the transition that we've had into the digital economy. So all these things are very, very exciting. And I think we needed a foundation to be able to deliver these very, very critical areas. And CFTA is one of those areas. But we want to also encourage better trade, better trading, more trusting trading environment across the continent, which is really important. And we want to encourage, of course, cross-border, trade and that flow of cross-border income coming into Africa. So we want to see more exporting. We want to be able to create opportunities to export more and less, imports coming into the continent. So in order to do that, we really have to set the underlining foundations to do that. And the CFTA definitely presents that opportunity. But it's also a big opportunity within the digital economy, which is where we all sit in. We're all talking about blockchain this week. Digital economy is absolutely massive and presents an opportunity where we can, sort of leverage opportunities to access digital assets, grow our wealth, and then access digital financing as well. Africa has a shortfall in terms of access to finance, and we need to really boost that. But underneath it all, of course, we want to drive economic diversification and transformation across the continent, which again is very, very important. So what are the challenges? So at Global Policy House, challenges for us really, I'd say exciting, but maybe that sounds a little bit deep, but exciting in the sense that it's an opportunity for us to be creative and innovative, and an opportunity for us to actually do something about it. So for us, challenges, we see them as opportunities to actually go into the markets and start to transform with these challenges. Of course, we all know many of the challenges across the continent. Certainly infrastructure, soft and hard infrastructure is something that we need to look at very, very closely. So access to affordable internet, very secure ICT networks is absolutely fundamental for a digital world. The lack of investments I've talked about a little bit, the high levels of unemployment, especially for young people, is something we need to address. And it's not all just down to government to address this. I think even in the private sector, we have to create jobs, we have to create opportunity. But we also have to be very, very specific and clear about, what regulatory structures have we got in place in order to foster innovation to happen and to allow for that activity to happen. We have very poor kind of digital, skills development programs in place. So we need to kind of boost the skills and capacity building. Especially around ICT and STEM subjects, and emerging technology subjects. This is where the future is going. So we need to be able to train and educate our people, especially young people, especially women as well, to take part within this digital economy. And that poor adoption of emerging technology is something we are starting to see that, is being addressed across the continent, which is very, very encouraging. But also we're talking about, the continental free trade, where we want to obviously tackle those trade barriers, both, non-tariff barriers as well. We need to address those so that we can encourage more flow of trade, more flow of liquidity into the markets. And my personal kind of ambition really is to ensure also that, we boost our capital markets across the continent. We need to have liquidity across the markets in order for us to operate. But also, very, very key area is data. I'm sure we've heard over time and time, in other presentations, the importance of data. If you have data, you have access to data, I think that gives you much more leverage as a continent to be able to operate, but it also skills up SMEs and small businesses, of which 70-80% make up the African continent. So we need to have access to data, in order to grow our economies. So for us at Global Policy House, these are what we call Global Policy House DDS principles, which really focus on data-driven solutions, or solutions that are boosted by emerging technology. We don't focus on just one technology. Of course, today we're talking about blockchain, and it's something, blockchain, I've been involved in blockchain since around 2010. And I could see the potential then, I still see the potential now. It's absolutely massive. And we're starting to see that companies and organizations are taking advantage of technologies like blockchain to actually transform. But what are the key areas that we really need to think about? The removal of non-tariff barriers I've talked about, but we can use technology to start to improve this, right? We can start to look at ICT access and boosting access to information by using technology, easy apps where we can, for example, give farmers access to information about new farming practices. We can do that very easily through applications. And certainly with digitalization coming into increasing across the continent and across the world, it gives us an opportunity to actually scale a lot of activities, especially within the e-commerce channels, and deliver solutions that are very, data-driven, and you can almost measure the impact of these solutions as we go along. But we're seeing an expansion of platforms. So we're in what I call a platform and token economy. And within this economy, you're going to see a lot of activity that is very platform driven, right? So you have your e-commerce platforms, you've got interactions with other global markets through your e-commerce activity or through other platforms. And hence we need to boost that, and we need to boost that opportunity to access those platforms. But also very, very important, again, SMEs, SMEs for Africa are critical, because those are the businesses that are starting to generate revenue. Those are businesses that are going to bring in additional revenue, especially that is needed now, post-COVID. So how do we equip our businesses so they can deliver? Again, the digitalization and data-driven technologies like, using AI or using machine learning or using blockchain, or you're ensuring that these businesses are also protected through cyberproof systems is absolutely critical. So we need to start to invest in this much, much more. Blockchain has a critical role, as I've said, especially around cross-border engagement and access to digital financing. One of the biggest challenges businesses have across Africa is actually access, for example, trade finance. Again, blockchain can play such a critical role in really opening up the doors and opportunities to access trade finance, also streamline those kind of customs procedures and the complexities that come with the customs processes, the fraud, the corruption that people, talk about. We need to create that trust and transparency. Even governments can start to leverage opportunities of blockchain by tracking and monitoring what is happening across their value chain, and ensuring, for example, tax collection, land registry, understanding what your markets look like, and having the data to actually measure and read how you're going to respond, even in terms of policy responses, is very, very key. I talked about cybersecurity, absolutely fundamental. I know the African Union is looking at cybersecurity and how we can start to, generate a strategy around that, I think is actually very, very critical. Other aspects I've talked about, digitalization, infrastructure, development of human capital is absolutely fundamental. We hear a lot about the tech, but we must invest in our young people. We must invest in our women and equip them with the right skills. So how do we go about creating those digital economies of tomorrow, right? Very, very important. How do we start to infuse technology? Yes, we are talking about blockchain. Blockchain has a critical role, and blockchain is actually a very good sister, I would like to say, right? When you start to mash up different technologies, and when you start to kind of converge and look at the convergence of different tech as well as other aspects, you start to go down the pathway of what we call digital transformation frameworks. And with these frameworks, you can design, economies that are a bit more personalized, a bit more seamless, a bit more citizen driven. So they're more personalized, and these economies, because they are more personalized, people can relate to them a little more. So it's not so much about just this bit, where you're looking at the technologies, which are very, very vital. And the technologies really have to be designed in such a way that, again, they do not create biases. So artificial intelligence and how that's being designed should not create biases. Who is designing the artificial intelligence, the algorithms, is very, very important. So we have to have a blended input. So we need more women, for example, to take part in designing products and services, using these technologies, and addressing their challenges as well. So we have to infuse technology. We have to co-create together in order to produce, those economies that we want, that are very, very balanced and very sustainable as well, is very important. And moving on, so what are the areas in terms of building Africa's digital future? For me, these are really, really important areas. And I know the African Union, again, through the protocols that we have been looking at with the African Union, we are starting to address quite a lot of this. So starting to think about the infrastructure, the connectivity is 100% key. Without access to infrastructure, to data, and affordable access to data, which I know a lot of people on the continent struggle with, we are really not moving the dial much. So we need to look at that. We need to look at investment, and start being creative about investment. Even starting to understand the cryptocurrency market, I think, is very exciting and presents an opportunity to actually say, okay, can we maybe have an alternative source of finance, right? For small businesses that might not be able to, be funded by a traditional bank or whatever. There's so many sources of finance, and there's so much income out there. There's so much finance out there, but it's not being mobilized properly. If we can use technology, we can use blockchain to mobilize finance, and also secure, the information and data through things like DLT platforms and things, massive opportunities. Regulation is critical. Regulation is coming. right? Let's just understand that regulation will come. In what form that comes is very important. And I urge policymakers and regulators to have full understanding and full consultations with expertise in the field to actually design the appropriate regulation that are, protect consumers, look at privacy within the digital economy, and also look at things like cybersecurity, which is very, very important. Again, data is also something that I have already covered, and I won't go into too much detail there. But all these areas for Africa is absolutely critical, and I think is something that we are addressing, of course, with other partners. So this is something that we've designed at Global Policy House, because for us, impact is important. For us, sustainability is important. For us, creating those green economies, right? Those self-sustaining economies is absolutely critical. If we're going to build back better, as we've all heard, what does that mean? Build back better, build back better. What does that actually mean? We need to start to get into practice. We do say a lot of things, we talk a lot, but we need to be able to action, we need to be able to deliver. And this circle of life, if you like it, this Global Policy House circle of life that we've designed really highlights what, for example, our role within the blockchain space, in terms of meeting some of these areas, which look at things like, more sustainable supply chains, open, transparent, visible supply chains. I can't emphasize that enough. We saw during COVID, the impact of, poorly opaque supply chains, where we could hardly tell, okay, where are we getting our PPE today? Where are we getting our, our vaccines today? Africa is facing a vaccine shortage at the moment, right? And we don't want to leave people behind. At Global Policy House, we want to close the digital divide. We want to close most of the divides that exist. And even when you start to think about manufacturing of things like vaccines, we need to see in the continent vaccines being manufactured, so that people can access the healthcare that they need. So for us, we've gone around and please do look at this at your leisure. We've gone around and covered a range of areas where we feel blockchain can be applied. We feel like blockchain is very poorly understood, and these are all areas where we can actually apply blockchain: climate change, sustainable finance, smart recycling, improved governance and democracy, right? Even, using smart contract and digitized responses to things, you can improve governance as well. Sustainable healthcare. I think the world is facing, the challenge of how do we create more healthcare systems in our countries? How can we make sure they're sustainable? How can we make sure we digitize to the data and medical records and things like that, so we can respond better? Back to my picture I showed you around, cognitive, very personalized economies. You can do that by using technologies, and that's where we're heading. People want personalized services. And again, here, a very quick one to just highlight, actually, it's beyond just the technology. It's beyond just blockchain. If we want to really build and leverage the CFTA, which we absolutely should, then we need to be able to tap on a number of things, right? To create that digital transformation that I talked about. We need to think about the people, investment in the human capital, right? This is skills development, this is capacity building, this is education, in the right spaces as well, which is something we really heavily focus on. Connectivity, I've talked about. Infrastructure, collaboration. Collaboration is something that we need to actually emphasize a lot more. Countries need to work with each other. Member states need to work with each other. Representatives within the African Union need to work with each other from different departments. All this is very, very important. Cash investment, again, investments is absolutely critical for Africa. If we don't have the right investments in the first place, it makes it very difficult for us to execute what we need. So we need to create that enabling environment for our investors that are coming in and ensure that they can play a role, because remember, it's over $1 trillion mark that you will be coming to invest in. So you will get your returns. It's absolutely exciting. Of course, culture is very, very important. Our culture in Africa, we are driven by very vibrant culture. We are happy people, joyful people, we're welcoming people. But we must also understand how to also leverage the opportunities within our cultures to do better. And all this whole formula really creates an opportunity to transform and reach those digital transformation journeys that are sustainable, that are impactful, and that actually make a difference to people's lives. And finally, just quick one in terms of, who we are at the Global Policy House. Because we do a number of things, and sometimes it can get a little bit confusing for people. But I always say to people, do you want to dip with us? And what I mean by dip with us is, obviously, we cover things like the digital economy. Under the digital economy, we're looking at data, we're looking at blockchain, we're looking at artificial intelligence. And we're starting to build products and services for the market. So for us, we study our market. We do our research and development. Very, very important. It's important you look and you study and you gather intelligence. And then you go and you design your products and services. So for us, we are doing that at Global Policy House and designing a number of products. Some are tailored towards the EdTech, sector, where we're building a platform to help with education across the world, particularly in Africa, where we want more young people to have access to education in ways that we might not traditionally think of. So gamification, using games and a range of other exciting things. We're looking at finance, supporting more women to access finance through our products and services, again, within the digital space, even looking at cryptocurrency and what that means for women. Central bank digital currencies is a topic that we're heavily, covering at the moment, looking and discussing with many different central banks, especially in Africa, where we're starting to have that conversation. What does the currency, the future of money look like in Africa? And how do we want the future of money to sit within the context of CFTA and within the context of helping small businesses, so improving payments, the payments infrastructure and ensuring that's very robust and safe for people to operate. And then on the investment side, on the investment side, we are trying to create avenues for people to access finance. We're trying to create opportunities to provide finance to small businesses, as a company, because we know what it's like. When we started, it's very, very hard to get access to capital, especially for women. So again, we want to provide access to capital and finance and liquidity to enable you to go and be as creative as you can be. And then, of course, policy. We have to influence policy. Yes, we're a fintech, but we have to also have a say in terms of how policies and regulations are designed, because it's going to impact us. And if we want to be productive and we want to grow economies, we need to operate in an environment that we can do that securely and safely. So we're very big at Global Policy House, working with governments around the world to influence policy and to create those ecosystems that are needed, to boost what we're doing. And generally, in terms of reach, our numbers, we really believe in looking at data and using data as evidence-based to showcase what we're doing, to improve on what we're doing. So, I've been, like I said, in the blockchain space myself for a long time and have reached loads and loads of people, probably way more than the figures that you see here, over 200,000 people. This is where we're doing training, we're educating, we're influencing policy, we're doing technical support, we're helping build capacity, we're doing master classes around the world. This is around the world, be it Singapore to London to South Africa, to sitting in Morocco at the moment. So we've been all over the world. And we feel that in order for us to drive adoption towards blockchain, it's important to educate and people start to really understand what is blockchain, what's the difference between blockchain, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, CBDC, all this stuff. We need to stop just using the buzzwords. We need to educate so people can leverage the opportunities. We've worked with some of the top biggest governments and banks, across the world. We're sitting on the B20, G20 group, around digital transformation and women economic empowerment. So we have a lot of activities that we're doing, and we're working with so many people across the world. Our team brings a wealth of experience, over 50 years experience within different fields. It's not just digital economy or blockchain, it's finance, it's legal, it's policy. So we have a very diverse team, which is very exciting for us. And of course, we're pretty much recognized as thought leaders in the space, especially within the blockchain space, which is quite exciting for us. And finally, we do work with many organizations. This is not, if your logo is not here, it's not because I'm saying we don't work together. We work with so many organizations around the world. And I just wanted to highlight, the diversity. Diversity is very important for us. So we want to work with organizations that have same social ethos as us, we're very impact driven. We want to make a difference. We want to, work with young people. So for us, we work with so many institutions around the world, and some of the biggest institutions as well. We've been involved in order to influence policy, but also to work together on very specific projects, which is very exciting, including universities, as you've seen here, including sort of e-commerce platforms, and even the consultancies as well that we are working with. And finally, I want to thank you very much for listening to me today. I want to thank the team for Africa Blockchain Week, because you've done a phenomenal job. I think we've had over 13,000 people in some days, attending. And for me to see this, having been in this space for so many years, having been in this space championing Africa, is very exciting. I am so happy. I'm so pleased. I'd like to extend my gratitude to Juan Lee, Olga, and all the whole team who've been organizing the conference. It's been absolutely phenomenal. Here are all my details. You can see here all the various areas that we cover. Please do feel free to reach out. And it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.